Hello, and welcome to The Point of Everything. This is the fortnightly episode where I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by my co-host, Cíara Byrne. Cíara, how is it going?
It's going great, Owen, and I'm delighted to be here on what I hear is the week of the Point of Everything's 10-year anniversary. Can you
Aha,
tell me
yes.
a little bit about the 10 years? Why did you decide to start this podcast 10 years ago?
Ooh, it started on the 31st of July, 10 years ago, 2015. So it is 10 years. I just happened to be looking through my app and just wondering, I think that's coming up this summer, is it? And so, yeah, that's when it started. Why did I start the podcast? We're getting in straight away at the deep end, Cíara. The podcast started because I enjoy talking about music. That's also why I got onto you about doing the co-hosting with me every fortnight about it. I just enjoy talking about music. And so 10 years ago, it started with myself and Keelan and Ashling, who were two promoters in Cork. They're variously involved in the arts still nowadays. They would have helped book acts in the Pavilion, which was a great venue in Cork that closed down more than 10 years ago. I think it closed down last summer, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I work in anniversaries, as any good music writer or journalist does. And so we just chatted about music initially, various music news and bits, kind of like what we do. And then it just kind of evolved because Keelan and Ashling got really busy, so it was hard for them to commit to weekly or regular podcast recording. So then it just got into straight up interviews with Irish acts, which has basically been what TPOE has been since then, bar a couple of, I don't know, kind of more documentary style episodes. There's been some interviews with authors and recap episodes. Keelan and Ashling have come on for end of year shows a couple of times in the past too. So it's been a kind of whatever I wanted to be at any given time. But mainly I figured out TPOE should be in-depth interviews with Irish artists.
Wonderful. And who was your favourite? Could you say, would you have a favourite over the years? Person that you interviewed? Or is that like
Favorite
50?
over the years. I mean, they're all my babies, Kiri. You
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
I always remember God knows being a great interviewee. I
Hmm.
love Rusangano family choice prize winners, of course, and Denise Chila, a choice prize winner too. So I've interviewed them all at various different points, and it's just the enthusiasm for things with them that really shines, and that I really enjoy. I just enjoy chatting with them and feeling the enthusiasm, but I just love getting in depth with artists. I remember Circa Richardson a couple of years ago kind of changed the way I looked at the podcast. We did a track by track of her last album, and I was like, oh, that's quite interesting, going in depth on tracks and doing interviews like that. And so a lot of the interviews I did in the following year, 18 months, were track by track interviews with artists about new albums, which is a lot of work. People, I don't know, maybe people don't know how much work goes into putting a podcast together, but I think even like a general podcast, like it can take hours, just me, takes hours listening to an album. It takes a while coming up with the questions. It takes 45 minutes, an hour to do the interview, plus hours of editing afterwards as well. And I was trying to put like little bits of music in the episodes too when they were talking about certain tracks, certain bits of tracks. And like I was losing my week. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So what we do is a little bit kind of, it's easier for me. There's no music on these shows that I do with you, Cíara, but that's also a rights issue as well. I had 10 episodes taken down Last year. I can't think off the top of my head which ones. They were taken down from Spotify just because of music that was played in them. So that was another hassle where it was like, oh, I can just do without them. But yeah, going back to the original question, favorite interviews. I mean, like, I've interviewed some of my favorites, like James Vincent McMorrow. I've interviewed Connor from Villagers as well. So I love doing those big, in my own head anyway, beloved Irish acts.
They are. That sounds amazing. And speaking of Irish acts, we're both going to All Together now this weekend.
Yeah, we sure are. Are you excited for it?
I'm very excited. This will be my third year in a row going to All Together now. And I think it's my favourite of the Irish festivals. It's not too big, but it's not too small either. So you kind of get that, people that you might see once a year, people you haven't seen from college, everybody's there. And this year, I think the lineup, especially for Irish artists, is incredible.
When are you getting down? Are you going down on the Thursday,
No,
Cíara?
I think I'm gonna leave it till the Friday. We went Thursday last year and it was great, but I don't think I could do like 4 full days.
Was it great? Yeah, on the Thursday.
Yeah. It was quiet, like there wasn't a whole lot going on. I think that was part of the magic because we set up our tents and everyone was kind of getting there, getting ready, and we were kind of felt like we had free reign of it before the crowds came in. So I can't remember who was playing. There was somebody on the bandstand um, who was really good, and then we were kind of just running around and getting a feel for the place before everybody else came down. So, but no, I did that last year, so I'm going to take a little step back and go down on Friday morning this year.
I wonder, are they kind of getting toward, are they thinking about Glastonbury? Glastonbury goes on like from gates open at, on Wednesday, I think, at Glastonbury. And there is loads of stuff happening, of course, at Glasgow. There's a few things happening on Thursday, and it does seem like there's a lot more people heading down to All Together now for the Thursday. I think it'll be busy though because it's been sold out for months on end. It really does feel like this is the festival of the summer, and fair play to All Together now for, I mean, surviving since they started up in 2018 and being able to keep going, because you hear so much about festivals. It takes a couple of years for them to start making money, first of all, and just being able to do a little bit more than just surviving. And it really does feel like ever since that first festival announcement that there's been a real excitement about the sixth edition of All Together now. Fontaines DC, CMAT, I would say Michael Kiwanuka, but he announced on Monday that he was pulling out due to illness and pulling a whole host of dates. So that's a real sad one. He was due to play on the Sunday. At the time of recording, it's just almost 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening. We still haven't heard who is replacing him. Maybe it'll happen during the episode, Ciara. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? But CMAT and Fontaines are just like the two biggest draws, really, aren't they? I think that everybody's excited to see them this weekend.
I think it's really like CMAT, especially with obviously Euro countries coming out next month, and with the release of her last song. I can't remember the name off the top of my
The
head.
title track of the album, Euro Country.
Yes, sorry, Euro Country. Yeah, of course. Filmed in Omni Shopping Centre. Any GCU alumni or any Santry locals would be very familiar. I just think it's her time, and I've seen her at festivals. Like I saw her at Primavera a couple of years ago. I saw her play the Guinness Storehouse. I've seen her around like various festivals and various gigs, but I just think that like this is her moment, and I think the entire of Curmore is going to be there for CMAT and Fontaines. I think CMAT at the moment because she's in the kind of album cycle, so she's very very prevalent for people, and she's just amazing. She's amazing. I'm very excited for that. I think she's my top headliner to see of the festival.
She's the act that like you are like not missing for
Yeah,
anything all weekend.
no, I don't care who's clashing. I don't care.
they're in the summer festival circuit as well, aren't they? Both have been touring all summer long. Fontaines DC, of course, headlined Finsbury Park in London to 45,000 people. 45,000 people. That's not even the full capacity of Altogether now this weekend. I think the capacity is like 25,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I'm really not 100% sure, but I really do think that like the whole site is going to turn out for those two, and it's just so great for Irish music, isn't it, that like those are the two main draws on this lineup.
And I think they were announced first, so it was the two of them and Gurriers were on that first list, and I think Brick Nasty and a few others amongst the more international stars. And I think they were the two big drawing points to it. It wasn't any of the international stars that were announced. It was CMAT and it was Fontaines, which is amazing. And then there's a whole host of unbelievable Irish artists across the weekend. They did a really, really good job in getting like Irish artists at every level on different stages across the weekend. So it's a great weekend for Irish music.
We're not going to go through the whole lineup. We have a couple of categories maybe where we'll make some picks. I mean, I did say best headliner, Cíara. How do you decide? I mean, one of us is going to pick CMAT, one of us is going to pick Fontaines. We'll set those two aside, maybe. Pick one of the others on the lineup apart from those two for the best headliners this weekend. We have London Grammar, Wet Leg, CMAT, Fontaines, Nelly Furtado, and Bicep doing their Chroma AV DJ set. Those are the biggest names on the festival poster. So I have them down as the headliners. I think Wet Leg, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I'm so excited. After just listening to their second album, Moisturizer, for our review that we did of it a couple of weeks ago, Cíara, I think, as we mentioned, they made that album with the live show in mind, with festival shows in mind. And you can tell just by the look of her now that Rian Teasdale, the front woman, she really has become a front woman. She's totally changed her look. I was looking back at old pictures of Wet Leg and she looks so unassuming with her brunette hair, and she looks almost shy. Like there are pictures and videos and interviews of her on the red carpet at the Grammys, and she looks like she probably feels like she almost doesn't deserve to be there. And now she just looks like she deserves all of the adulation, all of the love, and all of the words being sung back. And I just think, haven't seen them before Wet Leg. I think they're going to be absolutely amazing. They're playing before Fontaines DC, just before 9 p.m. on the main stage. And what a main stage lineup it is on Friday. Just 4 acts, but you have Lisa O'Neill, followed by Wet Leg, followed by Fontaines DC. Oof, that is a dream lineup right there.
Mm-hmm. Literally, and they're so different, but I think if you're a music fan, you would feel drawn to each of those for their own, like what they provide each. I have completely come around on the Wet Leg album since we last spoke. I've listened to it more, and I think they are somebody that you see live and you're like transformed, you know. Again, about Rian Teasdale, she is just so cool, and you're right, she looked so kind of innocent and like she's like, what am I doing here? And their songs have always been so interesting and so like so clever and so kind of witty, but she didn't really, I don't know, yeah, you're right, she didn't massively like come across like that. But it'll be interesting to see the new like evolution of Wet Leg with this album and seeing them live, because I've never seen them live either. I think I've seen Bicep a couple of times, so I think by the time it comes to the end of the night and you want a little bit of a dance, they'll be great. But I am very much looking forward to seeing Wet Leg.
I was doing my research for a preview piece of Altogether Now for the Irish Examiner, which will be coming out either the day before or the day of the festival this weekend. I came across that piece that you did. You did a review for Golden Plec of Forbidden Fruit in 2024. You went to see Bicep, no?
I did, yeah. They were playing the main stage, and I'd been at Le Boom, and it was the first time I'd ever seen Le Boom, and I was having a great time, and I was like, oh, I should go and see Bicep at the main stage. And it was huge, it was crowded, and they were great. I saw them at Primavera a couple of years ago. I think 2022. It could have been before that though, but I think it was 2022. And then I saw them at Forbidden Fruit. But I had the energy of Laboom in my head. It was much smaller, like they had a much smaller crowd. And Bicep, the whole stage was taken up, so I stayed for a couple of songs and I like legged it back to Laboom to get to the end. But they're not clashing this year, so maybe we'll get to see both.
There was flames, I think you said. Was there flames at Bicep? Or there was a big screen anyway, because that's what they're doing, isn't it? It's the AV DJ set. So they have this
It is
giant
the most
screen
light.
behind them and it's
Yeah,
almost blinding.
yeah, yeah. No, it's like white, kind of flashy lights as well.
That's going to be
But it's
fun.
great. Yeah, it will be very fun.
What's the next category that we're doing, Ciara?
I have Best Irish Act. I have gone with Sexy Tyke, who was doing a couple of shows over the weekend. I saw them play Beyond the Pale on the Saturday night back in June, and they put on a show. They perform, I don't even know how to describe it. They're just somebody that you have to go and see and witness. There's like queer cabaret, there's Shanno singing and fiddle playing, but then there's also like just amazing costumes, amazing dance. It's an incredible show. So I'm very, very excited to see Sexy Tyke.
I think that there's a great amount of really quality, like newcomers as well as more established acts. I mean, right at the start of the festival, you have Florence Road playing on the Something Kind of Wonderful stage about 4:30 on the Friday, and then pretty much the same time over at the Flourish stage, which I think is kind of the new bands stage this festival, you have one of your favourites, Clifford's from Cork, who are going to be playing as well. So that's just an amazing way to kick off the festival. But then you look to Saturday and you look to the Last City stage. We have Earthman Bob's Guide to Raving, which kicks things off in the morning. I do not know what that is going to be. Possibly full of kids, possibly full of people who are going to be dancing for the full weekend. Then you have Acid Granny, who are presenting their show Tradiator, which should be great crack. Acid Granny are just such oddballs who push around a shopping cart and they make full on dancey beats. They're going to be playing early in the afternoon, but they'll make it feel like it's 12 hours later. Then you have MB, Lil Skag, Ahmed with Love, who a lot of people will know if they're fans of Courtesy. He's a brilliant producer, rapper in his own right. And then you have the Irish Hash Mafia Cypher, which is hosted by DJ Rory Sweeney. Rory Sweeney seems to have his finger in a whole load of pies, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's all at the Last City stage early on Saturday. But yeah, there's so many more Irish acts that we could mention over the weekend. Who's the act you're most looking forward to, Ciara?
So I put down Irish and international, so I've got one of each. One and both of these are people I haven't seen before. So the Irish act I'm most looking forward to is Makeshift Art Bar from Belfast. They're a very recent gathering. I think they started in 2023. They're kind of, I think they're doing a similar thing to Chalk, where they're quite like heavy noise. You can't hear a lot of what they're saying, but I've heard them a lot played on BBC Radio 6, and I have heard very good things about their live show. And then for international, it has to be Nilla Frianya, who I adore, and I'm so excited to see her live. Her most recent album, My Method Actor, came out in 2024. And there's a couple of songs that I absolutely love from that. Mutations, I could not stop listening to when it came out. And Made Out of Memory, she is a British singer-songwriter, and she kind of crosses like indie, jazz, psychedelia, with an electronic influence as well. And I just think she's going to be gorgeous to see live.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that as well. Internationally, I think Nia Archives on the Friday evening midnight following Fontaines DC. Maybe I'll make it over in times to the lovely Days stage. She's a cool London-based producer, DJ. I think she's a filmmaker as well. She released an album called Silence is Loud last year. I don't know, is she underrated? Is she properly rated? But she's very, very cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing her show and what she does with that. I mean, she's collaborated with the likes of the XX over the years. She's done a lot of features, but I'm looking forward to seeing the live show. There's loads of other Irish acts who I haven't seen before, who I'm really, really excited to see this weekend. Stella and the Dreaming, who I think we've mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago, is also playing on the Friday. She's doing the Hidden Sound stage at the same time as Wet Leg, which, to spoil a category that we have coming up, that's my worst clash of the weekend. She's up against Spini na Heron, Skinner, Baxter Jury, Darren Kiley as well from Limerick, a singer-songwriter who I think is primed to be the next Kingfisher, to do the next Kingfisher, and also Wet Leg. That's a tough clash on Friday evening right there. But cut to the very end of the weekend, and by the way, the music goes on so late. I'm wondering how many people will be left standing, left dancing come 3 a.m, past 3 a.m. at the Immerse stage on Sunday to see Shanti Celeste, who released her album a couple of weeks ago. She's a really, really cool DJ as well herself, but also at pretty much the same time, that's a pretty bad clash too, is Sloucho, who's headlining the Circle stage. He's playing at 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, or that's what he's down for anyway. He's a hyper pop producer who keeps his identity hidden by a mask. He did a show in the Complex in Dublin, which people are actually able to watch in full. It's called a Fragments of Eternity gig, and it was almost like a really dark, full of dry ice show in the round, like Jules Holland. Just a really, really exciting guy, kind of like Rory Sweeney, has got loads of different things going on, collaborates with a load of different acts, and I've never seen him before, so I'm hoping to see Sloucho if I am able to make it to midnight on Sunday, but that is very much TBC at this stage. What's your worst clash, Cíara?
My worst clash are, well, okay, so I've seen one of them before and I've never seen one of them before, so that might be a teller. But dry cleaning and Gurriers are on at the same time. But I love Gurriers. I am like, there was a running joke in work for a while that I was going to, like, if I was going anywhere, it was going to a Gurriers gig because I went to so many in a short space of time. And they're just insane live. The energy that they bring and the crowd that they bring is unbelievable. And I haven't actually seen them. I don't think I've seen them at a festival, like an outdoors festival. I've seen them at other voices and mostly indoors. But then also dry cleaning, so I think I might have to do a little half and half split for that one.
I love just looking through the Clash Finder and just being like, oh, I want to go to this, I want to go to that, but I can't go to either of them because something else is on. But that's just a sign of a really great festival, really packed festival. Hopefully our paths will cross over the weekend, Ciara. I know that you were at a gig last weekend as well. Do you think anything you see over altogether now is going to come close to what Billie Eilish was like for you at the Three Arena?
You know what? I'm actually not sure. So that was a very, very last minute thing. I took somebody else's place that couldn't make it for a Golden Plaque review. So I found it the day before and I was like, I have a busy weekend, but you know what? Put me down. Put me down for it. I will be there. I will make it. I think Billie is in her prime. So she's been on the go for 10 years at this stage and she's only 23. She's incredible and she just owned the stage, and obviously she's got an incredible team behind her, like her parents were there. She shouted out the woman that she was named after, who apparently was in the crowd, a woman called Eilish, and she said that she was, you know, she's like, obviously, you know, I'm Irish, but I didn't grow up here, but I feel like I fit in with my pasty skin because everybody else is as pasty as I am. She had a huge set list and she went through all three albums, and it's kind of lovely to see her evolution from, you know, everything is great, but you see her being like a real kind of angsty, angry, kind of in like a bit of like, there's a bit of like kind of scariness, I think, to her earlier stuff because it was quite dark. And she really has moved into, I think, the full version of herself. And she just was beaming. You know, when you see somebody and you're like, they're doing exactly what they should be doing. It seemed like she was doing that, and she was embodying it as well. It was a mix of like crazy high energy where she was running and jumping around the stage, and then she'd sit down. She did a little a cappella version of When the Party's Over and used a loop machine to loop her own voice. She sat and she held hands with people in the crowd. There was a big kind of B-shaped stage with a cage in the middle, and the whole stage like changed color. So at one point she was lying down and the whole stage was white behind her, and the screens were kind of in a box, and she just looked like an angel. And there were fire cannons at that one. But yeah, no, she was incredible, and like what a last minute gig to then go and see somebody so in their element, like such a tight set, and she just seemed delighted to be there, and her fans are like super fans. I mean, super fans. I was on the Lewis coming in. Everybody on that Lewis was going to the gig, and everyone was kind of recognizable by the way they dressed. I think they had their jorts and their bandanas and their caps and everything. But they were all just so excited to get to see her, and she absolutely delivered.
Wow, that's great. So, I mean, the next time that we talk, I'm looking forward to finding out, Ciara, would you pick CMAT or would you pick Billie Eilish? I guess we'll have to
Big
wait and see.
question.
We'll have to wait and see. Let's finish up with how we always finish up, Ciara, with our tracks of the week. I have a track here by a band called Hurling from Tipperary, and this arrived in my inbox just a couple of days after the All Ireland hurling final, where Tipperary beat Cork, and I was very disappointed as a Cork person to experience that. I'm not that big a hurling fan, but of course if there's a bandwagon to jump on, I'm going to do that. So when I saw that I got an email from a band called Hurling from Tipperary, I thought that it was a bit of a joke, and it took me a few days to manage to open it up and find out a little bit more about them. They're not a joke. They say that they're an introspective indie emo band from Thurles and Templemore, comprised of Ciara O'Brien on bass and vocals, Eddie McCormick on guitar and vocals, and Kevin Callan on drums. So their first single is out on Friday, so maybe as we're driving to All Together now, we can stick on Salem, 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 which is their first single. They say that after spending time writing and recording music in other bands, we came together with the aim of writing songs that were much more personal thematically. This coincided with all of us just buying a lot of outboard gear, which then led to us taking a more DIY approach to the recording of our music. This track sounds right up my street. They say that they draw influence from the likes of Death Cab for Cutie, Oso Oso, and Anxious. I really, really like it. So yeah, Hurling and Salem, 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 Salem is my track of the week this week. What about you, Ciara?
So my track of the week was released late last week on Thursday, and it actually, so Sprints, they're a Dublin band. I'm sure many would be familiar. They released two albums on Thursday, or not two albums, sorry, two singles from their upcoming album on Thursday last week, called Rage and Beg. Their second album, All That Is Over, is coming out on September the 26th, and they just played Glastonbury, and they have some upcoming tour dates supporting Fontaines. So I think they're really in full force at the moment. And Carla had a couple of lines on the new track. So this is about Rage. So they have Rage and Beg, which it's just a massive sound from them. And I think they're really evolving and really finding their sound now. She said, I think in the world today, it's a lot easier to be angry than it is to help facilitate change. People are fatigued, disillusioned, it's understandable, but we shouldn't be pointing the finger at those already marginalised and making them shoulder the blame. The world is full of false prophets and false promises. It's time we call them out. Don't let the rage bait fuel the fire and burn us all in the process. Sonically, I was pretty consumed by Dandy Warhols and Viagra Boys during the writing of this album, so I feel like that seeped its way into the subconscious of the song. The rumbling desert garage influence that almost feels like a tumbleweed of chaos blowing across the track in guitars. Um, I think it's kind of English teacher inspired as well, and I know they'd played some gigs together as well, so I definitely hear an English teacher influence. But I think this album is going to be a huge album from Sprints.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that album and seeing where Sprints go. They had such a big rise with their debut album, toured so much, played hundreds of shows, and yeah, looking forward to seeing can they continue that rise. They've been like very vocal in their support of Palestine as well. So fair play to Sprints, and yeah, two great tracks from them. I think that we have to go pack, do we, care for our weekend?
Remember Sleeping Back?
Yeah, remember sleeping bag, earplug. My top tip actually for like what to bring to a festival is like, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I've got to go get some coffee. I've got a queue for like 45 minutes, an hour. There's never a short queue in the morning. Well, first of all, wait until the afternoon to get your coffee, but just bring one of those like iced coffee drinks from like I can't remember the brand or anything. Maybe if they want to sponsor the show, that'd be amazing. I would love that. Yeah, just get one of them or two of them or three of them, and that'll keep you going for the weekend. That'll be the caffeine hit that you need. Before we go, actually, we should mention that we're going to be at Love is a Stranger together, doing a show on the Sunday mornings. Love is a Stranger is from the same people who do Another Love Story, and it's going to be taking place at Ballyvalan House in, I think it's North Cork.
Yes.
On August 16th and 17th. We're going to be chatting on the Sunday morning. So as people queue for an hour to get their coffee, Cíara, they can listen to us. We might be talking about some of our favourite Irish albums, possibly of all time, tentatively calling it the TPOE Hall of Fame. We'll see if that name sticks or if I get too embarrassed by it. But looking forward to that as our festival adventures continue in summer 2025. But first, to All Together Now this weekend. Hope you have a great one. Hopefully run into you over the course of the weekend. Yeah, chat to you next time, Cíara. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, and I will see you in Curmore.